Welcome to Feed Your Lion. I'm Dr. L.I.O.N, and I'm here to aid you in the mastery of total health, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, and financial. So prepare to have your wellness tank filled up with this podcast. Welcome back to another episode of Feed Your Lion. Today's guest is Heather Smith. She is a health coach, and she's going to take us along her journey today and give us some tips on being healthier in our lifestyles. So, Heather, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So let's start again. Tell us about your background and what you did in the past and how you got here.
So I would say, to be honest, it started when I was about 3 years old and I got my first Barbie, get in shape record for vinyl. It's still
vinyl.
Actually hanging. The album cover is hanging on my daughter's wall in a frame. That's where I really got my start.
I love that.
And then I just really always got excited about healthy movement and exercise. And at some point, I kind of knew maybe I was a natural encourager. Mm-hmm. And so when I went to school, I studied exercise physiology, loved it, loved all the science, and kind of the technical stuff, but really loved seeing the light in someone's eyes when they get that feeling that they're getting healthier.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I worked in corporate wellness for a bit, did personal training, group fitness, all that good stuff. Helped to manage a big university campus rec center for a long time, 12 years. And then after that, I decided that it was time to do my own thing, which was one of the scariest things I've ever done. And so 6 years ago, it was 2016, fall of 2016. I said, I'm just going to go and start a business, and I'm going to coach people and make people feel awesome. And I've never looked back.
I can relate to that, leaving the ER, which, people thought I was crazy for that because you're you trained for 12 years to do that, and then you're like, nah, I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm going to do it's a very big transition. And you did, the exercise fitness side for how long before you were?
Really almost 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
Long time.
I mean, that's a long time to suddenly say, all right, I'm going to... it wasn't sudden, but you know what I mean, to make that actual change. That's a big deal. You have to have some courage to do that. You do.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Courage plus frustration, because I was really sick of seeing people come into the gym and, they were getting stronger. They were socializing. I mean, the gym is a great place. I'm not knocking it. But what I didn't see was real life transformation and real body transformation that can make an impact up here.
Sure. In your mind. Yep.
So a lot of people spinning their wheels, and I always thought, I'd see them come and go month after year after decade, and I would think what if I could just go home with them and be in their ear,
Yeah.
And what if I could just encourage them throughout the week? So that's kind of how that whole idea was born.
So was that so you modeled it off of that? This is the things that frustrated me about just seeing the gym side. You kind of modeled your business after that. Is that?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. So I wanted to coach people on, great nutrition, honestly, hydration. It's such a simple thing, but people need coached on that. And the value of creating great sleep habits.
Yeah.
And how to manage stress. And so, at the end of the day, whatever our stress level is, that really impacts our habits and also our internal health, about that.
Yeah.
So, really just helping people get a hold of their habits is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that when they did want to exercise, they could do it more effectively and have more fun doing it and really see the results.
No, I can relate, because that was my ER frustration, is you're doing such a little piece, and it's it wasn't total wellness. We were not impacting the total person. So I completely understand. I feel like we did a similar kind of transition there. But so talk a little bit about if somebody's getting health coaching from you, what does that model look like? Is it person dependent? How much time you're spending with them, or is it what's it look like in an average client you have?
Well, my goal, honestly, is to create a ton of autonomy for the
Okay.
person I'm coaching.
Okay.
They have to trust me, and I have to be able to coach them to a high level.
Sure.
So we've got to have that conversation in the start. But I want them to be able to put some of their habits on autopilot, so I don't have to be, in their house with them.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
when we start out, I always do a health assessment, and I ask first for the person I'm going to be coaching to fill out a form so that they can sit and take a walk inside their head. Where am I really right now in my health? What are my habits? Where would I love to be? They can have a little dreaming session privately.
Yeah.
And then we get on the phone. And so my clients are all over, so that's kind of nice. We can do it on the phone from anywhere.
Yeah.
And then we get on the phone, we have a conversation like, okay, well, tell me more. Like, why is this important to you? Why are you motivated now? How motivated are you? So those are the questions that I have. And then, from there, I can do the coaching and a lot of phone calls and
Sure.
a lot of guidance. I have a support group and Facebook, so
That's good to have the community, I think, too. Like seeing other people like do it is really helpful. You know what I mean? Like that's even with like the working out. You can work out your whole life, but it's different when you're in like a group or an accountability type of situation. It just it's a little more motivating, I think, too. But
yeah, it's energizing. It's really
Yes.
supportive. I even have an event next month. I try to do one every other month in person and once a month, or and then alternating months on Zoom.
Yeah.
And we're going to meet at a yoga studio, and we're going to do a little mindfulness practice and
Awesome.
sip some tea and share our good vibes
That's
and our successes.
awesome.
So that's real valuable.
That's good. No,
Yeah.
I think people really like that. That has a lot of benefit. I think so many people think they have to do things on their own sometimes, and like it's just nice to have that support and somebody you can bounce things off of. Like I don't know, and that's the point of a health coach, though, right? I mean, really, I think people know a lot of these like things internally sometimes, and a lot of it is education. But I think people know, healthy versus not in a lot of ways. But just having that accountability to somebody and like, okay, I'm gonna be talking about this. I think it gives more of a, I don't know.
Yeah. Getting your words out of your
Yeah,
head and
yes.
sharing them can sometimes be all you really need.
Absolutely,
Yeah. Oh,
absolutely. So, talking about getting clients, what are some of the biggest obstacles you see people face when they're starting with you?
You mean like before they come to me, or just
You can do
starting
either,
out?
like even like change it, doing the transition with you. What are some of the things they see? But even before that, like what are some of the common things you see?
I think the biggest obstacle is support of loved ones, which sounds really crazy because we want the people we love to be their best, right? But there's this, I think, fear that your loved one might change. Especially if you have to change your health habits or your eating habits or your sleep habits, and so I really love to coach someone who has their best friend or their mom or their spouse behind them. That's huge. One obstacle that's really really huge. I see it a lot. And the other big thing is just a willingness to be vulnerable. If people are afraid to really tell me what's going on, then we're not going to get very far, because I'm going to pull that thing out of my back pocket when they're struggling and say, remember when you told me this thing that really motivated you, that was really causing you angst? Like, let's talk about that thing. What's going to happen if you go backwards? You go back to that thing that was really making you crazy.
Yeah.
So if they're not going to be vulnerable and really share what they really want, then they're hard to coach.
Yeah.
It's not as much fun, and they're not going to get sustainable results.
Sure.
Because they don't know what's driving them. So,
Right.
Anyway.
They don't have their why set, right? I mean, that's kind of that purpose in it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
that's where the start of everything, right? Being clear on why you want something. So,
Exactly.
what are some like tips you give, or some things you've seen kind of help people with those issues?
Well, writing down their goals.
Yeah,
That's a huge one.
big, right?
Yeah, I have all my clients do some journaling. Nothing too, crazy. They don't have to sit in a corner and meditate, but a little bit of journaling. I always say just take it like a vitamin, 5 minutes of journaling a day. Let's work on our healthy mindset. And I think that helps them to like really get in touch with what's going on, what their emotional, mental barriers are. That's a big one. And then, just for accountability, we talk every day in their first week, because when you're starting something new, it's really hard. And so I don't spend a ton of time with clients either, because I don't want them to be, use me as a huge crutch, but I'm there to speak a little truth and push them when they need it, and also celebrate them when I need it. So we celebrate every week.
Okay.
I call clients every week once they've gotten started, and we talk about their wins. And I want to know about what happens on the scale usually, if weight loss is a goal, because that's our, it's a metric that we need to use to track to make sure they're on the right plan. But I want to hear what they're super excited about. Like a guy said the other day, like, I went on a business trip and I hopped on the plane and I just buckled. That buckle, that little click was a huge, like, victory.
Yeah.
And another person said, why, the elevator was jammed and I was late. She teaches at the university, and she was late to teach, and the elevator was full, and she had like 7 flights to climb. She's like, I just took those stairs and it was fine, and I wasn't about to die, and I made it to class. And that's a little simple thing.
Yeah.
But like, I just climbed the stairs, and it made her so happy, and she felt accomplished, and she felt powerful.
Yeah.
So
giving people those wins.
So we celebrate. Yeah. We got to celebrate all the time.
So you were talking about the journaling. Do you, and you can talk about your own journaling too, but like, do you have like specific things you do? Because I know everybody's journaling. Some people, they journal like on specific thoughts or questions a day. Some people do like gratitude type journaling. Like, is there like a system with that you use or that you recommend?
Well, so my clients have a little bit of a reading. They have an education system they work through. So they'll do a little bit of a reading and answer some questions.
Okay.
So that's one piece of that. So that's really intentional. Like, what are my health goals? What specific health related things do I need to overcome? But I also encourage just a sort of a stream of consciousness if they're willing. Yeah. Not everybody is.
Yeah.
But first, read a quote that inspires you, or a Bible verse that really means something to you, or, just give yourself a prompt if you have a hard time starting that process.
Sure.
And then just sit with it and meditate on it, honestly, for a couple of minutes. And that doesn't have to be like super like fruity, sitting cross-legged and breathing in incense. Like, just breathe for a few minutes and try not to write anything or think about anything intentionally, and just get your head clear.
Yeah.
And then open the book or the notepad or whatever, the napkin, and scribble your journal entry. Yeah. Because if you can just write like what pops in your head, that is usually the most important thing you need to address. And I do that for my own self too. Like, that's when I find the answers.
Absolutely.
The answers I need.
I want to talk about that breathing, because we were at that women's networking thing last month, and we did the breathing exercise. Do you remember the box breathing?
Yeah.
And I think it would be cool to like do that little exercise so people, because you can do that anywhere. So listening to this, so like talk about the box breathing if you're not a meditator and you don't know where to start. I mean, that's a good.
Yeah, so box breathing is simple because you can do it anywhere. Like at the red light, you can do it right before a big meeting or a phone call. You can do it if you actually are like, sitting on your carpet meditating. But the visual is your fingertip, and so you imagine a box in front of you, and you literally just draw a line up as you inhale and fill your belly with air and count for 4 seconds. And then you hold that air in your belly, let it do its thing for 4 seconds as you draw a line across the top of the box. And then you exhale and release it all as you draw the side of the box down this way. And then you just rest at the bottom for 4 seconds. Yeah. And then you start over and inhale for 4, hold for 4. Yeah. Exhale for 4. And rest for 4. And just that distraction, I think, of drawing the box, like, changes your thought pattern, breaks your thought pattern. Yeah, and that's a good, like, to disrupt if you notice something negative too, like just something to like get your mind off of that and on something else. And I mean, I think that's with the meditation in general. Like, I'm not like a natural meditator by any means. I'm like, always moving and, and so for me, practicing stillness, I need to do that. And I've been trying to do that every morning for a while, just because I'm not a naturally still person. And when you don't have that tendency, like, it's very hard, but like the breathing, when you're focused on that, it kind of draws you to it when you have to like do something with that, or like a mantra or something, repeating the same thing. So if you notice yourself
like distracted in your thoughts, you can go right back to that. Like, having that distractive thing is good, I think. But so we've kind of mentioned the meditating, the journaling. Is there any other like practical tips that you would recommend, like just for general like health, like consciousness in general?
Well, yeah, I ask people to write down some simple goals and place those goals in a place that they can see them on a daily. I think that's a great thing, just to have a visual.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes, and I'll have them text it to me for accountability, but sometimes they'll just write a sentence.
Yeah.
Like, I want to look and feel this way by this time. And it's important to me because blank. And put it on a Post-it note on the refrigerator, on your, dashboard of your car.
Yeah.
Bathroom mirror, wherever. But just writing down, putting pen to paper and writing down the goal or the why or both, and then looking at it every day. Just checking it. Just having a moment to check in is really good. And then making sure that someone else knows.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a health coach, someone in your home or someone that you trust knows, okay, that's what she's trying to do.
Absolutely.
Just so they can have your back in a moment when you're like, I don't
Yeah.
really feel so strong, or I
Yeah.
don't feel as convicted as I did when I started.
Yeah.
So I think just writing it down is big.
Have you had any of those cases, because we've talked about the support system, where like people do not, like maybe their significant other or spouse or something is not on board with them? Like, have you had any, cases like that, or recommendations for that kind of thing?
Yeah, and I'm thinking of someone who told me his family kept saying, okay, this is enough. And he wasn't at a healthy weight yet even. And the family's like, all right, we're kind of tired of you always eating healthy, and we're kind of tired of you looking different and bragging about all the new clothes, smaller clothes you can fit into and how great you feel. And what was happening was, I think, well, like I said in the beginning, they didn't want him to change because they felt like, oh, this version of him that they love so much was just different, and they didn't know how to accept that, even though for him he was so much healthier and he felt amazing, and he's like, why wouldn't they want me to keep going? Because their image of him was this. And so I said, you just have to be super honest and say how much their opinion matters to you, because it did matter. He didn't like it stressed him out. So let them know first and foremost that their words are really powerful and they're really affecting you.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing to say, but if you want it bad enough, you'll say that to the people who are blocking you.
Absolutely.
So,
And
yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes too, you can love people, but you don't have to, you can limit your exposure. I mean, if it's like if it's a toxic thing for you, or it's a chronically negative kind of interaction, I mean, sometimes you have to do that, even with like people in your family and things like that. Like sometimes you have to like say, hey, this is my boundaries, like, and that's that. And I mean, well, it's sometimes like that, you really, like, I think perhaps put up walls with the negative stuff, because it's everywhere. I mean, like, and if you don't like lay those boundaries down, like, people love to push them over. I don't know. That's just been my experience. I don't know what you think about that, but.
Well, absolutely. And so we have a saying in our house that I didn't create, but you can be a bucket dipper or a bucket filler. I have 2 daughters, they're 8 and 10, and we have been saying this since they were toddlers. Little. I'm like, if someone consistently does not fill your bucket or fill your love tank or whatever you want to call it, then that person is not a person that you spend a lot of time with. And if there's someone you really care about, why in the world would you dip their bucket?
Yes.
We're trying to fill, not dip. It's so simple and so powerful.
I love that.
So I tell my clients too, I'm like,
I love
if give her a couple tries to refill your bucket. But if she's not filling your bucket, say, I love you, but I need my space right now.
Yes.
I'm on a mission.
Yes.
This is important to me. I got to call my coach next week and have a good report.
Yeah.
Some people will use that in the beginning until they get confident.
Yes.
But it's like, no, I want to spend time with people who are filling me up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. I was reading this book recently, David Goggins, which he's amazing. Like, I don't know if you've read anything.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you'd love him. He is like fantastic. But anyways, he like an ultra racer and all this stuff, but just crazy some of the stuff he's been through. But he was his book I just finished up is Never Finished, which is an amazing read. You should read that.
Okay.
Everybody should read it. It's great. But anyways, he was talking about in your, I don't know what that space is called at war when you're in like the trenches kind of, but basically the people you're with and like
foxhole.
Thank you. That was it. I was like, I know it's right there.
Yep.
In the foxhole. But he was just talking about like, you got to really guard who you let in your foxhole, or like the closest people to you, and they've got to be on the same kind of level. I mean, it doesn't have to be doing the same thing, but they have to want the same, the cores need to be the same, or you're going to really be in trouble. But he touched on that, and I thought that was really good. And he's like, just guard your foxhole, basically, and anyways, I thought that was really good, and it was related to, but that is a great book. You should check it out.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend one for you about stillness.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's move on to how do you know? Because we talked about this before. How do you know when people are really ready to commit to this and to change their life? Like, what are you looking for with that? Like, what do you see in the people that are really there to commit and do the work?
Well, so I think a big one is angst.
Okay.
There's a certain tone in someone's voice I can hear when they're readier than ready.
Okay.
That's a real sentence. There's like oh my gosh, if I, maybe I'm not in tears yet, but if I don't change this, like I can't go on.
Yeah.
I can't live with myself. And so, I always listen for that. Like it's in my gut. There's a visceral need to change, and the angst is like almost palpable when we're on the phone. It's like, I just can't. I have to do something.
Yeah.
And so when I really hear that, not that I want someone to be at rock bottom, but I know that they probably feel like they've tried everything. They feel hopeless, and they need me to be really confident for them and believe in them.
Yeah.
And say, like, let's do this together. I know I can help you. And so it's not, about me and signing up a new client or, having another success notch on my belt. Like, I have to put myself in their shoes and just imagine how important it is in that moment to have someone who says, yeah, we're going to do this. You're going to do this.
Yeah.
So I think that I listen for that, definitely, the angst, like I'm not okay.
Yeah, I
like,
gotcha.
being this way any longer.
Yeah. Do you feel like you attract a certain type of client? Like, I feel like there's so many different types of like coaches, like, like my trainer at the gym, I mean, like constantly just yelling at me, like, and it's great. Like I just because like, we have that like fun relationship, like, but she's always talking crap to me, but I love it. Like, it's like, she's like, no, you're not done. Do more, put more weight everywhere we go. It is good. Like, cause I think I need to do that. Cause you're not gonna, like, for me, I don't push I've always worked out my whole life, but I'm not going to push myself as hard when somebody's on my case or like being like, oh no, you're being a pussy about this. Like, like I need that. Like, but I think some people need that more like encouragement. They don't have that same kind of like, they need a little more coddling. Like, do you feel like I don't know. I get, what I'm saying?
I can go both ways.
Can you?
I had a client say once, "You're small but mighty." Jeez.
So you can tailor it then.
Yeah, I mean, and also there are weeks, and some weeks people just need a kick in the pants.
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Did you eat that cookie? Why would you do that to yourself and disappoint me like that? Sometimes we need to just be raw, and I just need to like, and some people need that more often than others. In your face, like.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Put it down.
Yeah.
But then there are other people who always need a softer touch and they need more love, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. I mean, I'm a mom, right? So I can.
So you can
smack their butt and I can hug them at the same time.
You can do both sides. All right, that's good.
Yeah, it's okay. And even the toughest people have a hard week where they just want to break down and say this.
I'm
suck.
struggling.
This is hard. I want you to hug me over the phone. And that's okay. I know.
I
That's
got
okay.
you.
So,
I totally got it. I love it. Okay. So you mentioned the cookies, so we're going to switch to nutrition.
Okay.
Listen, my nickname is Pastry Princess because I'm like obsessed with food. Always have been. So I guess I want to get into like nutrition. First of all, what's your balance? Like, do you have to have both? Like, I mean, does it have to be the fitness and nutrition? Can you do one over the other? Like, what's your balance there? Because for me, I'm gonna eat desserts my whole life. Like, I'm not gonna be one who now I need to modify and moderate, but I'm gonna eat like things because I like to eat. But it's, I guess, the balance. Where's your balance? What do you recommend when you're talking to people about nutrition and how to balance those things?
Okay, so I've never, to be honest, never met a cookie I didn't like. I mean, that's the truth. I was raised in Appalachia. We like sweets, right? I'm not sure where you're from. I can't remember.
No. It's funny because you come like to the South versus like going to like Oregon or Cal. It's a different isn't it different? Like it's so different. Like
yeah, we eat cookies. I don't know. I mean, okay, so I know how to deal with this because I come from experience.
Okay.
And what I tell people is there's a season for everything. And sometimes we need to have a season of restriction that can be short and lead to a lifetime of freedom.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think that sweets are, necessarily the devil and not wrong and, are not going to kill everybody.
Right.
But many people have to have structure around that.
Absolutely.
Or it is just, I mean, it's an addiction.
Yes, yeah.
So I ask many people to make the choice to give up junk for a season entirely.
Oh, really? Like cold turkey it?
Like we're not gonna eat the cookie.
Woo!
Okay? And here's what happens.
Okay.
That allows your body the chance, your body chemistry to break the cycle of craving the sugar. And then secondarily, it allows your mind to see, oh, okay, here's what I can focus on now that I'm not constantly thinking about food or thinking about, the next sweet thing I'm gonna eat.
Gotcha.
So that's a really valuable process. Now, not everybody wants to go through that exactly, and they want to do like a slower approach, and that's okay. I love them anyway. It's all right. And some people, we hit a goal for a short season. Maybe we're going to work together for a month or 6 months, whatever aligns. And then they're like, okay, I want that cookie. Like, I want to be able to reward myself with that or to enjoy that on a special occasion when it matters to me or when it's my favorite pastry or whatever. And so once they've got their body under control and they have the mindset tools to be able to moderate better, then it's easier to indulge in that stuff sometimes, a little bit in a smaller amount and really enjoy it and not just, stuff with it.
Just because you're eating it.
Yeah. So that's, that's not a clear answer. That's a conversation I have to have based on their carbohydrate sensitivity too. Like if I eat a cookie, do I want to eat 30 cookies or can I eat a cookie and be really thrilled about that?
Yeah.
And so, an alcoholic can't have a drink, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not sad. Their life's not over. They're not like ruined, right? But it's like they know, like this is a thing. Like if I have one, I'm gonna have another, and then it's gonna be real bad for my body. So people are different.
I gotcha. So I want to dig into that a little more. Like how do you? Because I'm sitting there thinking about my own life as you're talking about this. Because food's always been my thing. But even now, like I've been on to try to get my weight back off. I was never this heavy. I was, like I've always been an athlete my whole life and stuff. So, but I've always been a 4,000 calorie day eater. I mean, people think that's crazy, but no, like I've ate big my whole life. But I'd work out 2-3 hours a day, no problem. So I always was moving, burn calories. And I think, I was on birth control for cysts and stuff for a while, and I think that really kind of screwed me up, and I gained a lot of weight in residency and things. But over the last year and 3 months, I've taken off about 15 pounds, and I'll lose. I got to do another 20 to be back at my ideal weight.
Congrats.
So it's it's a long thing, but for me, I'm mostly doing it with really a lot of physical activity because I'm more comfortable with that. But I'm
Okay.
getting older, so it's harder
Yeah.
for me. And honestly, if I would even cut down to like, and this is me personally, I know this is a lot more calories than most women probably do, but for me, I'm tailoring it because I want to hear your health coach wisdom here. But if, I found if I'm at 2,200 calories a day, I'll lose a lot of weight, and I'd probably lose it a lot quicker than just what I'm doing, because now I'm ranging anywhere from 2,000 to 3,500. And so, anyways, I guess my question is, when I'm doing a dessert a day, I'm feeling really good about myself if I can do a dessert a day, because it's nothing for me to do 3 desserts a day. And I guess for somebody like me who's got a big sweet tooth, like, would you tell me to like do cold turkey, or would you tell me to like really focus on being at your 1 a day and your 2,200, which I know I would lose weight and can maintain if I'm serious about it? Like, I guess I you know what I'm saying? Because I'm just curious what you would. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but
Yeah. So I would ask you to, I mean, you're a scientist at heart, right? So I would ask you to do a scientific experiment.
Yeah.
And give me 1 week.
yeah,
Exactly what I say, and do 1 week cold turkey.
Yeah.
I would ask for that.
Yeah.
Because you need to know how that feels before you make
Yeah.
your choice.
yeah,
And so you really don't know unless you've experienced it both ways.
that's true.
Either way is not, it's not right or wrong necessarily,
Yeah.
but sometimes there's a lot of freedom that comes from having a definitive, like, this is my structure right now
Yeah,
for a season.
yeah,
And so even maybe if 1 dessert a day is your structure right now, that's good, because that's
Yeah.
a system, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I've had that dessert, mark it down, and I'm
done.
and I'm done for the day. Like,
Yeah.
it's a plan. So
Yeah.
a plan is essential, whether
Yeah.
you go cold turkey or not.
Yeah.
That's really huge. But most people at the end of that week, when I say give me a week without drinking or without sweets or whatever it is, they're like, whoo, okay, actually, I feel so incredible.
Yeah.
I feel so energetic, and I'm not hungry, and I have a clear head. Like, I don't want to do anything to change that. So I hear that a lot too. They want to continue on that path until they hit their healthy weight, and then we transition back to, having a little more flexibility. And it's funny because a lot of people get scared to do that. They're like, okay, I've felt so good, and now I want to have, dessert sometimes and enjoy that. But I'm nervous because I've had structure, and I have to be able to like step out of that structure a little bit and have more flow. And the other thing is, I see a lot of people punishing their bodies with exercise, and that really, really is hard to see, because I grew up in the gym.
Yes.
Remember,
Yes.
I worked in the gym forever, so I've seen it in all its different ugly forms. Men, women, young, old, people thinking, well, I ate bad, so I'm gonna come and just crush myself, and that's not a healthy mindset.
Yes.
Or it's not healthy in your joints, right? Yeah. So, and especially if you've been eating a lot of bad food or drink, and you have a lot of inflammation, the exercise is not as fun, and you have to work harder to get that same amount of work done. So I tell people, I would rather you eat really well and work out for 20 minutes a day than eat really terrible and work out for 2 hours in a day.
Yeah.
You're going to be happier. I can tell you for sure you're going to be happier. And so I just always, and that's another thing I ask a new client, like, tell me why you exercise.
Yeah.
Okay. So it says here on your form, you're going to the gym every day. You're really dedicated. Tell me why.
Yeah.
And so if I know that they just love to exercise in a group environment, or their trainer's their best friend or whatever, there are lots of reasons why they love to go and spend a lot of time at the gym. But if they don't have a strong reason like that, then we dig a little deeper. Do you feel like you have to? Do you feel ugly if you don't? Do you feel defeated? Do you feel, like hopeless about your body if you don't go?
Yeah.
Go to the gym as a reward and as a way to be stronger, more powerful, healthier, not as a way to fit into your pants.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Although I'm probably one of your unhealthy people, but I would rather work out and eat a lot than I would cut my, because it is an addiction. You're right. And I will be the first to tell you, the food addiction, I was never into the drugs, cigarettes, or alcohol, but I've always loved to eat. And I mean, it's just as much of an addiction as any other habit,
Right.
you know, and
Right.
you can compensate by staying an ideal weight, you know, but you're right. It's, it's still a lot of work, but those are some really good points that I think will hit home with a lot of people. So
Okay.
how much of it is like, do you think a mental thing? Do you think it's like all mental pretty much? I think a lot of it is, but I want to know your,
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have long-term success if you don't bring your mind along with your body. Period. The
Yeah.
people who want to do a diet and like have like point A to point B and then whatever after that, like, are not going to have long-term success because it's about the way you reward yourself. You know, you've got to think like, okay, what do I enjoy? What do I treat myself with?
Yeah.
You know, is it a walk in the park or is it a, hot fudge sundae? Like, not saying that you can't
Yeah.
have both, but consistently, how do you reward yourself?
Yeah.
That mindset has to change. How do you enjoy your social circle? So I always tell people to take a minute before they go into a really maybe potentially unhealthy social setting, like a big Super Bowl party, for example.
Yeah.
There's going to be like a ton of food and beer. So
Yeah.
if they're nervous to make healthy choices, I say, okay, then why are you going to that party? You know, that might be a bad example because they just want to watch the game. But
yeah.
you know, if there was zero food and drink, would you still want to go and hang out with those people?
Sure.
And that's something to reflect on. Like,
That's right.
what am I,
Who am I around?
what am I doing? Yeah. Am
Yeah.
I spending time with people
Yeah.
who really I have fun with and I enjoy our conversation? And I know food is a powerful, cultural thing and it's awesome, right? But you've also got to rewind sometimes and say like, okay, strip it away.
Yeah.
And do those connections that I make with those people matter at least as much?
Yeah, you're consistent with saying, okay, take it another level down. This is what we're doing, but why are we doing it? And sometimes we don't stop to ask ourselves those questions. We've done it for so long,
Yeah.
you just don't really get to the deeper root
Right.
of why.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's really great, honestly. So just basic habits that you've noticed that a lot of people carry that are simple things that could help them, like in their journey, if they're trying to lose weight or whatever it is. What are some simple habits that you've noticed that a lot of this people do?
So, drink water. Every morning, wake up and refill. Refill your cup literally and figuratively. Get up in the morning, have a strong morning routine, hydrate. Caffeine's fine if you want to do some caffeine too. And then take a minute to set your intention for the day, whether you journal or meditate or pray or, just write down a goal for the day.
Yeah.
Have a strong morning routine. That's big. And then the next thing is to eat every 2 or 3 hours. Please don't go all day without eating.
So you're not an intermittent fasting fan?
Sometimes there's a place for that.
Okay.
But in general, more like eating like a newborn baby is my philosophy. Every
Okay.
2 to 3 hours, all day long, refuel a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to intermittent fasting, and I do have some clients who do it, and we kind of marry the two processes, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's a requirement.
Okay.
So that's where I am on that. I
Okay.
don't think it's a bad thing, and maybe especially with certain medical conditions, there can be some great benefits. So doing, fueling your body all day.
Okay.
And then taking time to connect socially with someone who's a cheerleader or supportive, having
Yeah.
some healthy social interaction, laughter, support, sharing, healthy communication. That's a thing that's huge. And whether it be with their coach or
Yeah.
the family or whoever they have. And then another big thing is healthy sleep, really prioritizing that. That's sort of treated in our society now, I think, like a privilege to be able to get good sleep, or like a frivolous thing almost. But really and truly, our body can't heal itself unless it gets a chance to lay rest,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I talk to everybody about the end of their day, the bookend on that side. What are you doing to wind down? I try to encourage a twilight hour, where
Yeah.
the hour before
Yeah.
bed, you get your eyes off the screen, you think about positive things, maybe make a gratitude journal, a list out a couple things you're thrilled about for the day, or connect with a loved one, phone call or
Absolutely.
or whatever, and and then really give your body a chance to relax. And maybe even physically, you need to have like a stretching routine before bed, so that your body, it gets a signal like, oh, okay, I'm doing the stretch, and now I'm going to lay down, and now I'm going to turn off the lights. So having a good bedtime routine and getting at least 7 hours of sleep is really a game changer. And you just make better choices all day.
Yeah.
Physically and emotionally.
Well, I like you put the bedroom routine, like the nighttime routine, because you hear so much about the morning, which is great. Like I definitely am all about a rock star morning, and there's lots of like good literature about it and stuff. But I don't think you hear as much. Like people may say, I've heard people say, write down your goals or like plan for the next day. But I don't think people talk enough about like the importance of the hour before bed too, because there's a lot of sleep issues and things like that. But what are we doing? A lot of people, they're tired at the end of the day, and they're maybe watching TV until they, crash, or they're staying up longer to watch TV. There's a lot of bad habits in there too, I think. Not just, but and with the bedtime stuff, I want to, what's your thoughts? Because you're, the eating regularly. For me personally, I try to cut off eating by 6 at the latest, because it's just, I don't feel very good if I eat late and things like that. But what's your thoughts on that? Like, when do you tell people, like, hey, maybe not eat late? Because sometimes I hear a lot of people say it's not good to eat late either. But what's your thoughts on that?
Well, typically late night eating for someone who has like a traditional schedule is typically not good. And mostly just because of the choices we make when we're tired and run down.
Yeah.
So when we have kind of this decision fatigue, or like almost like a willpower hangover, it's like, oh, well, if I'm going to eat, like I'm just going to grab something that gives me some instant gratification. So that is one reason not to eat. I think what a lot of people shouldn't eat late at night. But if you haven't really fueled your body enough throughout the day, though, then I'm not opposed to someone eating before bed, as long as it doesn't disrupt their sleep.
Sure.
And I just had this conversation with a client the other day, and she said, I feel like I kind of need a snack because I'm not getting enough throughout the day. I need something after dinner. And I said, that's totally okay. But she was feeling like it kept her up too late. I said, your sleep is a priority. So maybe eat a little bit earlier in the day or a little bit more frequent, because if you're not getting the sleep, your energy is just going to be lower, but also you're going to be more vulnerable to make bad choices. So really, just like you said, being mindful of how it makes you feel if you eat after 6. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Like, does it affect my sleep? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Does it affect my energy level the next day? If not, no problem. If I'm, my hunger level is the same and everything is, copacetic, you can have a snack in the evening, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Another thing that I encourage for people who struggle with healthy sleep habits is to create a dump list at night, and just grab yourself a notepad or your iPad, whatever, and just sit down for a minute and write down all the things you're either worried about or that you feel like you have to accomplish the next day, or, the things that are going to be on your mind when you lay your head on the pillow.
Yeah.
And if you can, make a nice dump list at night if you've had a heavy day, then oftentimes that's the kind of thing you can write down. Like, oh, I'm feeling tired, or I'm feeling hungry, but actually I'm just stressed today. I've been through a lot, and I don't actually need to go get a piece of pie. Like, look at what I've just written down. Like, I've got all this stuff heavy on my heart today or on my mind tonight.
Sure.
And so that's a good thing to kind of like clear the head before getting healthy sleep.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can like determine your nighttime eating triggers.
Absolutely. So if somebody is interested in doing health coaching with you, how do they get a hold of you?
So I have a link that I send for that health assessment I talked about. And you can share it with them, or I can give them my email. It's just heatherforhealth79@gmail.com, or they can text me. But I'm going to send you that link.
Okay.
First things first.
Okay.
Give me where you think you are in your health right now. And that'll come to my email, and I'll schedule a phone call. And I have a lot of people, too, who say, I sort of just followed you on Instagram for a long time before I had the courage to reach out or to fill out your link. And that's okay, too. So if you need to get to know me a little bit, an Instagram follow is fine, or Facebook. And, I'm really transparent. So what you see is what you get. So if they are like, okay, I could see maybe having a conversation with this person, then that might be the place to start if you're just not there yet.
Tell them your Instagram and stuff, how to find you on that.
Just Heather for Health.
Heather for Health.
FOR Health.
Okay, and give them that email one more time.
And the email is Heather, FOR heatherforhealth79@gmail.com. heatherforhealth79@gmail.com.
No, it's funny you say that though. Like even like in this business, like I had somebody in finally getting labs for the hormones yesterday, and she's like, "Yeah, I've had like 5 people tell me, and I followed you on your pages, and it's taken me like a year to finally come in here." Like it's for some of these things, it takes people a long time. Like they really have to get comfortable and see you regularly, and so I totally get that. Is there anything else as we're starting to wrap up? Is there anything else that you want to add or you think we didn't really cover that you want to mention before we conclude here?
Well, I think that it's just important to say if you see a success story or if you hear about a client I've worked with and their life is just totally transformed, don't feel like you have to be that success story right away. Maybe just take one small action step and have one conversation, and I promise, cross my heart, not to pressure someone if they're not ready. And in fact, I will turn you away if you say your motivation's not high yet.
Yeah.
Because that's not good for either of us.
Yeah.
But I say, like, don't feel like you have to go from 0 to 10, you know, in your success. Like, let's just go to 1 and have a conversation about your health.
Put it 1 foot forward at a time.
One small step, just having a conversation about, you know, your health is like the next right thing to do sometimes.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're a Disney fan, you know, Anna,
Yes.
it's just like the next right thing. Let's just talk.
Okay.
And, you know, if you hear yourself saying some things that you need to go and sit with, that's okay too.
Yeah.
But just taking one small step and not feeling like I could never be that person who totally looks different and wears different clothes and has all the energy to brag about. Like, don't. It's okay to dream about that being that person, but don't feel like I could never get there.
Yeah,
because that's not how we do it.
Yeah,
it's baby steps.
little at a time. I think that's a lot of it too. Is like that fear of, you know, I couldn't do it this way, so I'm just not gonna try it all. Instead of just like putting a little at a time. Like that's, you know, how do you eat an elephant? Right? Is that what it is? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
Joss has turned that around. She's like, you know, instead of how do you eat how does an elephant eat 1 bite at a time? She thought it was the trunk. Because they eat what they're trying. I was like, you totally butchered that. But anyway, so Heather, thanks for being here. And as always, we're going to end with a quote. And Heather actually, this was one from her that she recommended. So, never bend your head, always hold it high, look the world straight in the eye. And that's from Helen Keller. And again, thanks for being here today. And we'll see you all the next time.
Thank you. My pleasure.